The FBI is the most sophisticated law enforcement agency in the world, pursuing the most dangerous criminals.
If you scream, I will shoot.
In Denver, a serial rapist holds young women in the grip of fear.
It sent chills down my back. I don't know how else to describe it.
The Bureau mobilizes. But can they catch an elusive rapist who strikes with cruel precision and leaves no trace behind?
He spent hundreds, if not thousands, of hours watching women and trying to pick a good target for himself.
This was planned, and it was done before. If it was done before, it means it's going to happen again.
I'm scared to death. It made me think, is he going to come after one of us?
FBI. Criminal Pursuit. Once a bustling hub for gold rush prospectors, Golden, Colorado is a scenic small town in the foothills of the Rockies, 15 miles from Denver. Its residents usually feel safe and secure. But all that changes in the winter of 2011. On the morning of January 5th, a frantic call comes into the 911 dispatch center.
Golden 911, what's the emergency?
A guy came in my house and raped me.
Is it someone you know?
I don't know, he wear a mask.
Minutes later, Golden police arrive at the home of the distraught caller. The 26-year-old college student recounts her harrowing ordeal to Detective Stacy Galbraith.
She's actually kind of a night owl. She goes to bed about 7:15-ish. Next thing you know, there's a masked man who comes in. He has a backpack, he has a gun. He tells her, don't scream or I'll shoot.
Get off me!
I will shoot you if you move!
He pulled all her bed covers off of her, then got onto her back to gain compliance.
Get up, now. Move it. Put these on.
The attacker forces her to dress up in stockings and heels that he brought with him in a large backpack.
That's right, hurry up, I don't have all day.
Then instructs her on how to fix her makeup.
He was very specific. He wanted her eyeshadow to be kind of a brown, wanted her lips to be much pinker. He even had her put pigtails in the sides of her hair, which she did.
Look at me.
He then directs the victim to pose provocatively while he takes pictures with a pink digital camera.
That's right. Look at me. Look at me and smile.
This assault started with the photography, the posing.
Blow me a kiss.
Then there were multiple phases where he actually sexually assaulted her, different ways, photographing the whole time. He made it clear to her that if she reported to the police, he would post her pictures he was taking online or on the internet to humiliate her, basically. He took her to the hallway bathroom and told her to brush her teeth. He even asked her, why aren't you using your electric one? Indicating, I've seen you have another toothbrush.
Unbelievably, the rapist tells her how to better secure her patio door by putting a wooden stick in the track.
I'm thinking, how could you care about an individual after you do this to them for 3 or 4 hours enough to help them secure their property so that no one else comes to do it? It made me think he was gonna come back.
Finally, he orders her to take a shower to wash away all traces of the sexual assault.
He goes in and tells you, stay in the shower 10 more minutes and I'll be gone.
Terrified, the young woman follows her attacker's instructions to the letter.
When she got out of the shower, she saw her room. He had taken all her bed covers, taken some of her panties, taken some of her, personal things.
Now free from the masked intruder, she desperately searches for her cell phone to call for help.
She went over to her laptop, used a laptop application to dial her cell phone, and it was located in her couch.
She first calls her boyfriend, then dials 911.
Golden 911.
Even after 4 hours of unrelenting abuse, the woman remains remarkably poised under questioning.
Thank you so much.
She paints a detailed picture of her attacker. White, about 35 years old. He wore a black wrap-like mask that only exposed his eyes, which she identified as hazel or brownish green. She also noticed a small but telling detail.
She describes like an egg-shaped birthmark. She drew it on a piece of paper for me. It's about 2 inches by 3 inches, oval-shaped birthmark.
The victim tells police she got her attacker to open up and admit he'd been stalking her for more than 3 months. And she remembers the very moment she knew he was telling the truth.
Whenever he bound her, she visually identified a black satin sash as being hers, her own sash.
A sash she thought she had lost or misplaced 3 weeks earlier.
She never knew anyone had been in her apartment. She didn't give any weird somethings out of place. None of that, nothing.
She also says the assailant knew the most intimate details of her life.
She said he knew everything about me. He knew what school I attended. He knew what my major was. He knew my name. He knew my roommate's name. He knew what vehicle she drove, her plate. You have to be conducting surveillance on somebody to know the information that he had on her.
The victim is able to obtain key information about the suspect that gives detectives insight into the rapist's twisted mind.
He would talk about his world, and her recall of it was that he would talk about a society of wolves and bravos. There's wolves in society that basically will prey on anyone, and he talked about bravos and that they wouldn't hurt women and children. It really made me think military, that we had to be dealing with someone who was military trained.
The victim claims the assailant seemed to be educated and said he spoke 4 languages and traveled extensively. The victim provided police with what leads she could gather. Now, it's their turn to take those leads and find the rapist. Detective Galbraith and a team of investigators search the victim's apartment, but find next to no physical evidence that might tie the rapist to the scene of the crime.
And typically, when you go into a scene of a sex assault, you're looking for bed covers, you're looking for sheets, you're looking for pillowcases, you're looking for things that are usually left behind where we would have a forensic type evidence, some DNA. None of that stuff's there. It's all gone.
Detective Galbraith has only 2 viable forensic leads: a swab of the suspect's DNA taken from the victim's face, and a shoe print found on her snow-covered patio. Surveillance cameras from a nearby business captured a suspicious white truck seen driving in the neighborhood around the time of the attack. The footage reveals the white vehicle has a broken passenger side mirror, but fails to show a plate number. For now, it seems the rapist has successfully covered his tracks and concealed his identity. That night, Detective Galbraith shares details of the crime with her husband, an officer from the nearby Westminster Police Department.
I started telling him just about all the details of this assault. He immediately said, "Stacy, we have had a couple just like that. I know one for sure."
The following morning, she phones Detective Edna Hendershot with the Westminster PD and is struck by the similarities between the recent rapes.
I'm talking with the detective on the phone, telling her about the high heels. She's like, "Yep, high heels in mine too. Photography all the way through." And she says, my victim had a pink Sony camera stolen from her. I'm like, bingo. Because our victim recalled the pink Sony camera that he used to photograph her. I knew right away that it was connected.
One victim's camera is used to photograph another woman's rape.
It sent chills down my back. I don't know how else to describe it.
The detail about a pink Sony camera was never publicly released.
That's not something that we talked openly about, even within the police department.
Now convinced there's a cunning serial rapist stalking the women of Denver, Detective Galbraith calls on the FBI for help. She teams up with Special Agent Jonathan Grusing, a 17-year veteran of the Bureau who has spent much of his career working violent crimes.
The reason Golden wanted our help was the level of sophistication of the offender and how meticulously he cleaned up after himself. Some of the verbiage that he used on whether he's a police officer or military person.
But before the FBI can even sink its teeth into the case, the investigation is dealt its first setback. The facial swab taken from the Golden victim yields only a partial profile of DNA. It is not enough to match to any known offender in any database.
It's like you're so close, but yet you're still so far away because you have no idea who it is or where he's at. And when he's gonna do it again.
January 2011. A sadistic rapist strikes in Golden, Colorado, subjecting his victim to hours of abuse, then vanishing from the scene, leaving almost no physical evidence behind. For investigators, it's the absence of evidence that paints a profile of the criminal.
This has got to be someone who is not a little bit familiar with sex assault scene processing, but someone who's really familiar with it. I really started thinking that maybe this is someone military, maybe this is someone with law enforcement experience.
He didn't leave any clues behind, and that's why we assumed he had some sort of formal training.
Investigators also believe the man behind the Golden attack is also responsible for an eerily similar one 15 miles north in Westminster 5 months earlier.
My victim was sleeping on her stomach when she awoke to a man that was straddling her back.
I have a gun and I'll use it. Understand?
Okay.
The man told her that he had a gun, that he would hurt her if she didn't comply.
Don't move.
He carried with him a bag that he used to facilitate the assault with. In the bag, he had all sorts of different items, including sex toys and bindings that he used to bind the victim with.
Don't move.
Okay.
The assault appears to have been carried out in the same methodical manner as the one in Golden. Both spanned hours. The victim was photographed, and the attacker threatened to post the disturbing photos online.
You don't want these ending up on the internet, do you? So you better not tell anybody.
I won't.
They were humiliating photographs of this assault as it occurred. She was someone that was very vulnerable. She had recently lost her husband. She had just moved into this apartment complex from where she had lived with her husband, where he died from cancer.
It's a compulsion I have that I can't control.
Like the Golden attack, the rapist told the Westminster victim to stay in the shower while he made his getaway.
She was told that she needed to be in the bathroom for 20 minutes. She asked him, how am I going to know how long 20 minutes is? And asked him to get the kitchen timer so that she would know. The kitchen timer was set by the perpetrator when my victim was in the shower.
The Westminster police find little evidence at the scene of the crime, but they do recover an odd honeycomb pattern glove print on the outside railing of the apartment and trace evidence from the timer. DNA obtained from the egg timer yields the same profile as the swab taken from the Golden victim's cheek. While the test doesn't turn up a database match among past offenders, it does confirm that the rapes are indeed connected. A week later, while searching for leads, Detective Hendershot comes across a police bulletin detailing a strikingly similar assault 17 miles south in Aurora, nearly 1 year earlier. Hendershot immediately meets with Aurora detective Scott Burgess to compare notes.
As we exchanged reports back and forth to each other, I remember Edna looking up at me, and I looked up at her, and she just starts shaking herself. She says, "I'm reading your report," and it could have been right from each other's case. Stunning.
For the 65-year-old victim of the Aurora attack, the trauma of the event has left deep emotional scars. She has agreed to appear on camera, only on the condition that her identity remains concealed.
When you wake up to an intruder in your home, it's just pure fear. I was sleeping. I was on my stomach, and when he came into the room, he jumped on my back.
Just by being on her back, she can't move, she can't scream. The threat of deadly force. I have a gun, don't make me use it. He's able to gain an immediate control over her.
I didn't have any recourse but just to listen and do what he said. He told me that he was not going to hurt me. He was not going to take anything, but he was going to rape me. I tried to talk him out of it, and I said, "Why would you want to rape an old woman?" And he said, "How old are you?" And I said, 65. And he said, "Oh, that's not old."
Mary's attack is eerily similar and equally as disturbing as the other two. The victim says the attacker brought along a duffel bag, which investigators know to be the intruder's rape kit, things he needs for the attack, and then some.
It was large enough that, and planned enough, that it was also used to take evidence with him when he was done.
Amazingly, Mary also managed to engage the intruder in conversation, and she questioned his motivation.
And he was very blunt. He said that he had grown up in a loving household, that he didn't abuse any sort of drugs or alcohol. He didn't even smoke. It was just something he could not help himself for doing.
So I immediately just told him, "I wish you would get some help." And he said, "I think it's too late for that now." And I was shaking, just shaking because I was so nervous. And he asked me if I was cold, and I said yes. And he went over and picked up the quilt that was on the floor and covered me with the quilt and even tucked it around me.
The rapist's bizarre displays of politeness conflict with the sheer brutality of the assaults.
He offered water to my victim. He wouldn't let her hold the bottle and consume the water. He would have her open her mouth, and then he would dribble the water into her mouth for her to drink. I'm thinking that this is a person that is beyond comprehension.
Much like the subsequent attacks, Mary's rapist takes her clothes and the bedding, along with any trace evidence, with him. The only possible item that could yield any DNA is a teddy bear Mary saw the rapist touch with his bare hands.
And when he was at the foot of my bed, he knocked the teddy bear off and he put it on top of the TV. And that was the only DNA that they found in my house.
Investigators hope this could be the break they've been looking for. But the lab comes back with the same partial DNA profile. The partial profile is enough to tie the three rapes to one assailant, but it is insufficient to run against other criminal DNA in the nationwide database.
It becomes very clear that there is very little that we have to go on. It's frustrating.
Golden, Westminster, and now Aurora investigators team up with the FBI to form a task force to hunt down this dangerous sexual predator.
In some ways he's typical, in some ways he's not.
They're hoping a behavioral analysis of the rapist's MO will provide clues to his identity.
And he's out of the neighborhood.
One striking abnormality is the dramatic differences in the ages of his victims.
You normally see that a suspect finds something desirable, he goes after it, and then he finds out that that's an enjoyable thing, so he will do that over and over and over again until he gets caught. So we had those discussions. Are we sure this is the same guy? Because you have one victim that's 65, another that's in her mid to early 20s. And yes, he's doing the same thing, but could there be two people doing this?
However, the commando-style attacks are so similar in nature, so methodical, so routine. Agents are inclined to believe there is only one suspect who's been at this a long time. Which makes them wonder, how many other victims are out there?
It's easy to search a certain range of victim, 20 to 25 or 20 to 30, but when you're talking 20 to 70, searching for crimes in the Denver metro area, that gives you a huge data set as well. So that made it difficult to find out how many of these we had.
Even worse, investigators fear he struck somewhere else before the Colorado attacks. The FBI launches a database search for past sex crimes that may be consistent with the rapist's profile. They uncover 13 unsolved cases with possible ties to the Colorado rapes. All occurred nearby the Kansas State University campus between 2000 and 2008, and all of them fit the same disturbing pattern.
He was at the level of our offender where he was spending a lot of time with his victims, very confident, and very meticulous on his cleanup process. He was also same build and wore a lot of the same get-up with mask and gloves, that sort of thing.
The Colorado Task Force links up with Kansas authorities to find out more about this serial rapist and catch up with a cunning criminal who has eluded justice for over a decade.
There was a race, and we hadn't even made it to the track yet, and he's already off and running.
January 2011. A rapist has committed a string of violent sexual assaults in Colorado. All bear uncanny similarities to a series of unsolved rapes committed years before in Kansas. Investigators now have every reason to believe they're dealing with a serial sexual predator.
We found it hard to believe that these were the first offenses he had committed. He was too good at it.
In all cases, the rapist stalked the victims with stealth, struck with precision, and thoroughly removed all traces of physical evidence. The disciplined, methodical nature of the attacks leads FBI analysts to believe the rapist has military training.
We spent days working with the different military branches to see who had transferred from Kansas to Colorado in 2008, 2009, because we strongly suspected military ties based upon how he conducted himself during these assaults.
The initial search for suspects among military personnel fails to turn up any promising leads. But investigators have another body of evidence to draw from. The rape victims provided detailed physical descriptions of their attacker. The task force issues a press release asking the public for help in identifying the unknown attacker. It includes the rapist's approximate size and weight, eye color, even details about a large birthmark spotted on the rapist's leg. Then, a little more than 2 weeks after the attack in Golden, they catch a major break. A tipster calls in to report a man's photograph on a social media website with a similar birthmark.
He had possibly been involved in a sex assault prior or an attempted sexual assault on the campus. He had a birthmark on his calf, so he looked like a pretty good suspect.
The birthmark, that is a telltale. If we could get a hold of someone with that on their leg, I knew that was going to be huge.
Investigators gain little information from the dimly lit image online, but use it as key evidence to obtain a search warrant. They install a tracking device on the man's car. But surveillance reveals nothing out of the ordinary, and his cell phone records confirm He was nowhere near any of the crime scenes during any of the attacks.
How you doing today? I'm doing good, Agent Grusing. How may I help you?
They bring him in for questioning. But hopes are further dashed when they get a closer look at what was first believed to be a birthmark.
It turned out to be a tattoo and not a birthmark, and a little bit different position on the leg than what the Golden victim had described.
A DNA test ultimately confirms that the suspect isn't the serial rapist. Lacking forensic evidence to hone in on a suspect, investigators decide to cast a wider net.
It was decided as a group that we would start to look beyond the scope of what you typically would look for, I guess, in this kind of investigation, for other crimes, other similar crimes, maybe attempted assaults that weren't necessarily of sexual nature, maybe attempt burglary, maybe a peeping Tom incident.
The task force contacts the neighboring department of Lakewood, 24 miles west of Aurora. They're stunned to learn of an attempted attack on a 47-year-old Lakewood resident in July 2010. The victim tells police she arrived home around 10:30 that night and immediately sensed that something wasn't quite right.
She had left her garage door open so that her cat could come and go from the house. And when she got home, the garage door was down, and I think she reasoned it away and, maybe thought that one of her neighbors had put it down for her.
At 2:33 a.m., she's startled awake by a strange sound.
She hears the sound of what she thought was someone coming down the hallway and sort of dragging a bag. A man appears in the doorway, wearing a black mask covering everything but his eyes, and holding a knife up in his hand.
The victim repeatedly screams, but her attacker does not relent.
He had grabbed one of her wrists and was beginning to tie her up, and he kept telling her to shut up, but she wouldn't stop, and she kept screaming.
Fearing that the woman's shrieks may attract attention, he suddenly breaks off the attack to check for any unwanted company. At that moment, the woman makes a daring decision. She jumps out of an open window.
She ran to her next-door neighbor's house, went into their backyard, started banging on their doors until someone let her in.
Neighbors call police, but by the time they arrive, the assailant is gone. The Lakewood victim sustains broken ribs, a punctured lung, and fractured vertebrae. She describes her assailant as a white man in his 30s with light-colored eyes. A police search of the property turns up only a shoe and a glove print.
He was doing a great job of destroying evidence. He left little to no DNA at these scenes. We had basically no verifiable physical evidence because there wasn't anything to follow at that point.
What little evidence is found at the Lakewood crime scene ties the attempted assault to the 3 rapes in neighboring communities. Analysts determine that the shoe print found at the scene matches the one found in Golden. And the honeycomb pattern handprint matches the one found in Westminster.
If it were something so unique that some type of glove that cost $200 to buy, then we could go do data searches and find out who bought those gloves at certain malls, but there's hundreds of them sold every day.
Glove prints don't identify anyone until you find the person with those gloves. And shoe prints don't identify anyone until you find the person with those shoes.
Unless investigators are able to tie the evidence to an individual, soon, the serial predator will continue to stalk the women of Denver and strike at will. Authorities are racing against the clock to nail a suspect in a vicious series of sexual assaults around Denver before he strikes again.
But this guy was particularly frightening in terms of the methodical nature with which he committed these offenses and the lack of predictability that he operated under.
I said don't move!
It certainly made the hair stand up on your back when you thought about what he was doing and how he was committing these crimes.
Investigators now have solid evidence linking the same rapist to 4 Denver area crime scenes. Shoe and glove prints found at the Lakewood scene match those found in Golden and Westminster. But none of it brings police any closer to identifying the suspect.
All that forensic evidence matching up between the cases was great, but it was at the same time very troubling because, okay, so we have someone who can't be identified, who's going to continue attacking people until we can figure out some way of catching him.
He probably thinks he's not only smarter than these victims, but also smarter than the police.
FBI analysts use witness accounts to hone in on the type of criminal they're up against.
Obviously has some intelligence and I think a huge ego.
I'm looking for a guy that blends in with society just like you and I. He's your next door neighbor, and he could be a school teacher, he could be a pastor or a policeman. I'm looking for an intelligent person and has a secret life that probably not even the people closest to him know anything about.
So this general area, right?
Investigators are grasping at straws, looking for any incidents in nearby communities that may provide them more clues. Meanwhile, Danelle DeJosio, a crime analyst for Lakewood Police, joins the search for viable leads.
Well, I'd been asked to go look for burglaries where underwear was stolen. And I thought, oh my gosh, that's looking for a needle in a needle stack, really. So the next best thing I could do was really look for suspicious vehicles or suspicious people calls in an area around where our attempted assault occurred.
One call, placed weeks before the Lakewood attack, catches her attention. Neighbors a mile and a half away from the victim's residence reported seeing an older model white truck loitering in the area. Police had been immediately dispatched to check out the vehicle.
The agent drove by, also ran the plate, found that there was nobody in it, no reason to believe that it was involved in any criminal activities. There was nothing inside of it, no body inside of it, and cleared the call.
The responding officer placed the vehicle information into their database. Danelle learns that the 1993 truck is registered to a Mark Oliry, who lives across town.
This time in the morning, why are you way up here? You don't live here. And from what I could tell, he didn't work in the area either.
Days later, she attends the task force meeting to discuss the status of the case.
But I showed up at this meeting and listened to everybody else and what had been done. It kind of comes around to me, and I said, well, I found a suspicious vehicle, is a white truck.
Danielle held up a picture from a license plate reader. I about just fell out right there. I said, that's the truck.
That is the first time that I'd heard there was another truck involved.
O'Leary's truck is almost identical to the suspicious vehicle seen casing the Golden victim's apartment complex. The surveillance video of the Golden truck showed a broken side mirror, but did not capture the license plate. Could this vehicle and O'Leary's truck be one and the same?
Now we have this tangible thing that we can point to and that we can track now. That feels good because that's something to grab, hold solid, and really run with.
That's kind of where everything swung, and all of a sudden it's like, oh gosh, you got a suspect. You got a car, you got a house where he lives. You can start doing surveillance on him.
According to DMV records, Oliry is 32 years old, 6'1", 220 pounds, with blonde hair and hazel eyes. The exact same description given by the victims. With evidence piling up against Oliry, agents drive by the suspect's home and find the truck in question parked in the driveway.
and were able to look and see that the truck parked in his driveway had that same passenger rearview mirror that was either broken or turned in to the side. I mean, you do get excited about something like that, and you're working against the clock to make sure he doesn't do something again.
The FBI delves deeper into Mark Oliry's background and learn he's a military veteran with the skills to pull off commando-style attacks, much like the serial rapist. Yet surprisingly, Oliry has no prior arrests.
There wasn't anything about him that would lead you to immediately suspect someone like that of just carrying out such heinous acts.
But FBI computer techs expose a darker, more sinister side to Mark Oliry. Online searches turn up a porn website registered to him under a Washington state address.
We had websites that were just over-the-top, disturbing kind of pornography.
For now, police don't have enough evidence to arrest Oliry. But they're not about to let him off the hook. They obtain a warrant to plant a tracking device on Oliry's truck so they can monitor his every move. That same day, police spot a man who they think is Mark Oliry, leaving his house with an unidentified woman. Authorities tail the couple to a nearby restaurant and keep a close watch. After the couple leaves, agents collect the suspect's coffee cup. It's their best chance to collect DNA, but there's a catch. Investigators have only a partial DNA profile to match to Oliry.
All we had was the male portion of the DNA. We knew that if we could find our guy, we could validate it, given that we'd need to eliminate brothers or anyone else in the paternal line.
A hit comes back, but it's not the slam dunk investigators are hoping for. The DNA comparison is a match to a male in the Oliry family. But for not one, but two possible individuals. Mark Oliry and his brother, someone police never considered as a suspect.
Both the brother and the suspect not only share the DNA, but they look remarkably alike. All of a sudden, you have two real viable suspects.
Which one is the actual perpetrator here? Is it Mark Oliry or the brother?
A task force of federal, state, and local authorities is closing in on a serial rapist stalking women in the Denver area. DNA tests have come back with a hit, but the results aren't what investigators expected. The DNA profile matches both the suspect, Mark Oliry, and his brother.
We had a DNA hit, so we knew it had to be either him or his brother at that point. So that next morning, we had enough information, enough probable cause, to get a search warrant on the house.
Later that day, investigators approach Oliry's house. Mark Oliry seems surprised to find police at his door.
He looked completely dumbfounded, absolutely shocked. I don't think he had any idea it was coming.
FBI and police enter the property while Oliry steps outside. Investigators are anxious to see if Oliry has the oval-shaped birthmark seen by the Golden victim. Detective Stacy Galbraith asks Oliry to raise the baggy legs of his sweatpants.
And I kind of lifted both up, and there was a huge birthmark on his leg, just as our victim had described. And everyone standing at the house saw that. We knew we had the right guy.
Now that they're face to face with Oliry, investigators realize the person they had followed to the restaurant was in fact Oliry's brother. Mark Oliry asks for a lawyer as police cuff him and take him into custody.
I didn't do anything, Stephanie.
Took a real big breath, and I just knew I just knew that he wasn't gonna hurt another woman. I just knew it. And that all the work that we had put in had come together. And all the pain that those women had gone through came together right then.
Blow me a kiss. Smile.
The devastating thing for me it took other victims to make our case and to have him arrested and held for that. And that's hard. That's hard to live with.
I called my victim and told her that he was in custody, that she needn't worry anymore, that he wasn't going to hurt her or anybody else ever again, was the most important moment of that day for me personally.
Evidence collected at Oliry's house is damning, including the pink Sony camera reported by victims, a pair of Under Armour gloves with the unique honeycomb pattern print, and a Ziploc bag full of women's underwear.
It's almost like every room you went to, there more evidence was stacking up.
But the most telling find of all is more than 400 photos of the rapes in question, plus photos of multiple unknown victims.
And it was something that I think will forever haunt me personally, having to view those photographs.
Several are particularly troubling.
There's also some images of a younger girl, bound, gagged, photographed with her driver's license on her chest. And zooming in, I could read it.
Detective Galbraith notices it's a Washington state license and contacts police.
I finally got a copy of the report, and across the front of it, it read, "Victim was charged with false reporting." When I saw those words, my heart about broke.
During the course of the 4-hour interrogation, Oliry is all too eager to reveal what motivates the monster inside him.
He described himself as a sexually violent predator. He talked about his pendulum. It would swing, 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 and then he would have to carry out an attack so that it could swing back and he could live normal in society. You know, he was feeding this monster inside of him. He couldn't stop it.
On October 13th, 2011, Mark Oliry pleads guilty and is sentenced to 327 and a half years in prison.
He absolutely got what he deserves. And he absolutely would have done it over and over and over until he got caught. I think he absolutely deserves every single minute he spends in jail. Every single minute.
I felt like my life would always be different. But I didn't want this person to dictate my life. And I didn't want him taking anything away from me, any more than he already had.